A big topic of conversation this week around the Philadelphia Eagles and this season around the Philadelphia Eagles. This struggling Birds offense, which especially in the last two games has been pull out your hair worthy angry levels from yours truly and everybody else who's had to watch this Eagles offense. They have so much talent. This is a team that won the Super Bowl last year, returned 10 of 11 starters from that Super Bowl champion team going into 2025, yet they really can't do anything well. Throwing it, running it, and here we are entering week 12. They really don't have an identity. And all week here on this show, I've been trying to figure out what is wrong with this offense, how to improve it, and how to make it better. And we found some solutions all week on the program for the real ones who have watched every episode. My guide for how to get this Eagles offense on track with the offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo, you need to be better, creative, and you need to be less predictable. Jalen Hurts, historically, a hot and cold player. He has to be on, especially against the Dallas Cowboys. This Cowboys offense, one of the most high-octane units in the NFL. This might have to be a back-and-forth offensive game. If the Eagles offense doesn't bring it and the defense struggles and the Cowboys are lighting up the scoreboard, Eagles could go down in embarrassing fashion. This Eagles offensive line has to play better. They've been one of the worst-ranked offensive line units in the entire National Football League this year. That's unacceptable. For these Eagles wide receivers, A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith are special. When you have one-on-one opportunities, they have to get open. And a big reason why this Eagles offense has sputtered at times and they can't go on these elongated, sustained drives is because they can't convert on third downs. They've been one of the worst third down offenses in the NFL. And one of the theories and solutions that I came up with for why this Eagles offense has been struggling, vanilla, easy to predict, easy to defend route concepts. And a big gap and hole with this Eagles offensive scheme right now, they really don't target the middle area of the field, which I've always said doesn't really make a lot of sense because you're taking a third of the field away, making you easier to defend. So you look at A.J. Brown's route chart against the Detroit Lions. This isn't creative. This isn't vast. And it's pretty one or two dimensional, meaning he's either running routes on the right side or the left side. There is not a single crosser in his route chart against Detroit. This is one of the best yak wide receivers in the NFL. Yet the Eagles are running all these hitches, they're running all these easy-to-defend routes, and they're not scheming up ways to allow AJ to take advantage of his great skill set in being hard to take down after the catch. A.J. Brown, earlier this year, against the Los Angeles Rams, when the Eagles' offense was awful in that first half, came alive in the second half. Look at the route chart. This is a lot better than that Detroit route chart, where you actually see a vast amount of routes that he's able to run here. You think back to A.J. Brown's route chart, week 12 against the Rams in 2024. This is what Kellen Moore was drawing up. This looks a lot different than what Kevin Patullo has devised this year. You see A.J. getting targeted and running routes every blade of grass, north, south, east, west. A.J. Brown's route chart against the Packers in 2024, week 1, when he had 5 catches for $119. That Rams game, which we just showed you, over 100 yards. Rams game from week 3, over 100 yards. There's a correlation here. When you give A.J. opportunities to run a plethora of routes, he produces because he's able to win, and you take advantage of his skill set. So week 1 against the Packers, look at the amount of routes that he's running and the differences in them, where you're targeting north, south, east, west, every third of the field. A.J. Brown's route chart against the Browns in week 6 of last year when he had 6 catches for $116. Yeah, on the left side, a lot of go balls, but he's running those go balls from the outside, from the slot, and then on the right side of the field, you see the differences in the route tree here. You see the differences in where he's lining up, inside, outside, X, in the slot. Under Kevin Patullo, you haven't really seen a lot of that creativity. And this brings me back to a big issue that we saw in 2023. What do you see here? Eagles not targeting the middle area of the field. Now, there are a lot of reasons for why this could be the case. Let's take a look at some numbers here. Another thing that is an issue with that last photo, how the wide receivers are so close, there's no spacing, and they're basically running similar routes, which makes them easy to defend, and you're just not testing or pressing the defense in that manner. So Nate Tice, who covers the NFL for Yahoo and NFL Network, I think he used to be with The Athletic, he put out some of this data, and I think it's really interesting. I wanted to pass it along. So Jalen Hurts' rate of passing attempts that traveled 10 to 22 air yards and were targeted between the numbers with ranks among 168 NFL quarterbacks and their seasons with 200-plus passing attempts since 2021. Jalen Hurts, this is not the area or a category that you want to be a part of. 2025, 4.7%. That ranks 167th of 168 quarterbacks. 2024, 6.2%. That ranked 153rd. 2023, 5.3%. That ranked 162nd. 2022, 7.2%. That ranked 129th. 2021, 5.5%. That ranked 160th. So for throws that I would call intermediate, in between the numbers, Jalen Hurts throws some of the fewest percentages of passes in between the numbers between 10 and 22 yards among the 168 quarterbacks with 200-plus passing attempts since 2021. So you could talk about the scheme, you could talk about the play calling, you could talk about the quarterback. I think all of those are issues for what we're seeing. And so Nate Tice added on top of that and said this: it really doesn't matter who the offensive coordinator is. Hurts prefers to work outside the numbers and throw hitches, stops, go ball slants, and slot out routes. There's going to be a few tweaks with each offensive coordinator, but the main diet of the passing game will always be what Hurts prefers to throw. There is definitely some truth to that. I also think there's some truth to the fact that Kevin Patullo isn't calling enough plays or scheming up plays to have guys go across the middle, because I have seen Jalen Hurts throw across the middle. Eagles Eric at Eagles X's and O's talking about the hitch route specifically here. The Eagles are running hitch routes at a historically high rate in 2025, despite being 30th in the NFL in total routes since they run often and keep players into block when passing. The Eagles have still run the second most hitch routes in the entire NFL. Hitch routes serve two main purposes: hit them on the break, especially against zone, as an influence route to grab a zone defender. The problem, the Eagles rarely throw at the break. They only use the hitch as an influence route when running wrap in bow. They have hitches on the backside that are smothered by the time the progression gets to them. Hitches are great, but the volume and method in which the Eagles have deployed them is actively hurting their offense, which I agree with. The Eagles also have 3 players, I think, in the top 10 who run the most hitch routes: Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown, and DeVonta Smith. In a way, this makes the Eagles predictable, and this is a big reason why the Eagles' offense is easy to defend, and there's not a lot of vastness to what they do. Denise, to follow up on Eagles Eric's observation about the Eagles' hitch routes, the Eagles are running more hitch routes than any team in the True Media database since 2012. Kevin Patullo and Nick Sirianni need to see this, and they just need to get more creative. I understand they have their own offensive philosophy, but it's an offensive philosophy that right now, part of it is great, but you need to evolve and be more revolutionary, in my opinion, because right now defenses have caught on to what the Eagles are doing. You need to propose and show them different looks, which can then open up the pass game and the run game. As far as targeting the middle area of the field, this is my theory here, and I think it makes some sense. The Eagles not targeting the middle area of the field has never really made a lot of sense to me. You're taking away the third of the field, as I mentioned earlier, thus making you easier to defend. I think this decision-making process could come down to the Eagles not targeting in between the hashes, in between the numbers, because they want to keep the ball out of harm's way and away from so much traffic. What I mean there is that there's so many bodies in between the hashes, in between the numbers, naturally. I don't think that this is necessarily a Jalen Hurts problem because I've seen him throw a touch over the middle. I think the Eagles have sided with a very conservative approach to their offense because it's worked. And that brings me to this crazy stat. The Eagles are conservative on offense, and maybe they don't throw over the middle of the field, not because it's a Jalen Hurts problem, not because they don't have the weapons to run routes over the middle, but they know that if a ball gets tipped over the middle for a quarterback who's a little bit shorter, can't always see, that can lead to interceptions and turnovers. We saw it with Jared Goff on the Cooper DeJean pick off the Jordan Davis pass that was defended. This is that crazy stat. Eagles don't want to turn the rock over. It's a proven formula that has been very advantageous and has worked for them. The Eagles are 40-2 under Nick Sirianni since 2021 when they win the turnover battle. That's insane. And the two losses, I believe, that the Eagles have suffered when they've lost the turnover battle are games that Jalen Hurts has not even played. So when the Eagles win the turnover battle, when Jalen Hurts is playing healthy, they're unbeatable. So it's really hard to blame them for the approach that they have to offensive football. I think the biggest frustration is that they have so much talent. There are ways to make this offense better, but right now the Eagles are being vanilla and they're being conservative to a point where it's costing the offense, and if it continues, it could cost this team an opportunity to win a Super Bowl. As far as Sirianni's philosophy on the turnover battle, here's what he said. We always talk about victory favors the team making the fewest mistakes. There's a sign of that up on our wall, and it's about playing with great detail with your fundamentals. And so that's obviously something that's very important to us. The two games that we did lose, one in 2021 was to Kansas City in the regular season. The other one was last year against Washington. When you combine good talent with good detail and good fundamentals, that's where you get some special things happening. I think that's been a big key. The talent combined with the fundamentals, and then you add the defense, taking the football away and doing the things that they do and being just as obsessive about it on that end as well. It's just something that we've been very obsessive about. Our guys have done a great job of paying attention to it, playing to their strengths with the ball in their hands and trying to take it away. Again, at the end of the day, all I really care about is wins and losses. This is all that Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts care about. But there are also other guys who care about winning, and like A.J. Brown, they want to play a role in winning. And honestly, when you're playing offensive football that is lackluster, like the Eagles have been playing all year, if I was a member of that offense, I would be frustrated too. And I think it's a combination of all these factors, right? It's good to keep the ball out of harm's way. And the Eagles, what they're preaching clearly is working. I mean, 40-2 is an insane record. In the NFL, when you win the turnover battle, you win about 80% of the time. The Eagles are far greater than that. But there are some things from a philosophical play calling, play design standpoint that they could do better to make them even better as a team. Interesting, fascinating stuff as this conversation continues here. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button here on Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Senior. Thanks for supporting the show. You're all the best, and I appreciate you.